At first, no one noticed him. Dressed in a plain black t-shirt and jeans, he quietly slipped into the back row just as the worship music faded. Lakewood Church was packed as usual, with thousands filling the massive former sports arena. Keeping his head down, he tried to blend into the crowd. Pastor Joel Osteen had just stepped onto the stage, his trademark smile lighting up the vast room. He was moments into his sermon when he caught sight of a familiar face near the back. For a split second, Joel's practiced delivery faltered. "Today," he began, regaining his composure, "we have a special guest among us. I won't embarrass him by pointing him out, but I believe God brings people here for a reason." A ripple of whispers spread across the congregation as people turned, trying to spot who he meant. It didn't take long. Someone recognized the distinct profile of Elon Musk. Within minutes, the news had exploded across social media. Elon at Lakewood started trending almost instantly. Still, Elon remained focused, seemingly unaware, or perhaps unconcerned, about the buzz. His expression was serious, contemplative. He hadn't come for attention. He was seeking something else. That morning's sermon was about taking leaps of faith when facing impossible odds. Joel spoke with passion about believing in visions that others called crazy, about persevering when the world said to quit, and about finding a purpose beyond wealth and worldly success. Sometimes, Joel's voice echoed through the vast arena. Those who change the world the most are the ones who face the greatest doubts. The greatest innovations, the greatest breakthroughs, come when someone refuses to accept the limits others place on them. Throughout the message, cameras occasionally caught Elon nodding, even jotting down notes on his phone. Clearly, something was stirring inside him. When the service ended, security quickly formed a perimeter around him as excited churchgoers surged forward, hoping for a handshake, a photo, or even just a glimpse. Joel made his way through the crowd and approached Elon personally, inviting him into his office. As they walked away from the noise and cameras, Joel asked the question everyone wanted to know. "What brings you here today?" Elon hesitated before answering, his voice quiet. "I've been struggling with some big questions. About purpose. About what all of this is for." He gestured vaguely, as if trying to encompass his entire life's work. Joel nodded in understanding. "Success without meaning is just noise," he said. "Exactly," Elon replied. "I've achieved more than I ever imagined, but lately, I can't help asking, what happens when you finally reach the top of the mountain you've spent your whole life climbing?" Once they reached Joel's office, away from prying eyes and ears, Elon shared something that would have stunned the world if they'd known. "I've been having dreams," he admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "The same dream, night after night. And I think God is trying to tell me something." Joel's eyes widened slightly. This was not the conversation he'd expected with one of the world's most famous entrepreneurs. But before Elon could explain further, there was a knock at the door. The church's administrative director appeared, looking apologetic but urgent. "I'm sorry to interrupt, Pastor Joel, but we have an emergency situation that needs your attention." Joel looked torn, glancing from Elon to the door. "Go," Elon said. "But I'd like to continue this conversation. There's something big I need to talk to you about. Something I think only you might understand. Come back tomorrow, Joel offered. No cameras, no crowds, just a conversation. As Elon exited through a private door, he had no idea that his decision to return would set into motion a chain of events that would inspire millions around the world. The next morning, Elon arrived through a side entrance, slipping past the media circus that had set up outside the main doors. News of his appearance had gone viral overnight, sparking intense speculation. Why was Elon Musk, famed for his scientific mind, visiting one of America's largest churches? Joel welcomed him into a small, modest meeting room rather than his formal office. The space was comfortable but simple, a stark contrast to the grand auditorium. "I appreciate you making time for me," Elon said, accepting a cup of coffee. "What I'm about to share might sound crazy." Joel smiled warmly. "I've heard a lot of crazy over the years. God often works in ways that don't make sense to our logical minds." Elon took a deep breath. "For the past 3 months, I've had the same dream," he began. "It starts with me standing on Mars, something I've visualized countless times. But then everything shifts. The red planet transforms into a sea of faces, millions of them, all looking at me, asking for something I can't provide." Joel leaned in, listening intently. "In the dream, I realize all my work, my companies, my innovations, they're incredible achievements. But they're not addressing the deepest human needs. Technology can solve many problems, but it can't fill the emptiness inside people." He hesitated, looking almost embarrassed. "The dream always ends the same way. A voice says, 'You've connected the world. Now help them connect to something greater.'" Joel was silent for a long moment, processing the weight of Elon's words. "Do you believe it's God speaking to you?" he finally asked. "I don't know," Elon admitted. "I'm driven by data, by what I can prove. But these dreams, they feel more real than anything else. And what do you think it means?" "That's why I'm here," Elon said simply. "I've built systems to transform energy, transportation, communication. But maybe my next chapter is about something else entirely. Maybe it's time to address the spiritual emptiness I see everywhere." Joel nodded thoughtfully. "Many successful people eventually ask these same questions. Achievement alone never fills the God-shaped hole in our hearts. Your sermon yesterday hit me hard," Elon continued. "When you talked about finding purpose beyond success, it felt like you were speaking directly to me." Their conversation was interrupted again. A knock at the door. Joel's assistant peeked in. "Pastor, we have a situation developing outside." Joel stepped out briefly. When he returned, his face was concerned. "Word got out that you're here again. There's a huge crowd gathering. Some are excited, some not so much." Elon grimaced. "This is exactly what I was hoping to avoid. I'm not here for publicity." "I believe you," Joel said. "But maybe this isn't a disruption. Maybe it's part of the plan. Your presence here is challenging assumptions. For everyone." Elon stood and walked to the window, peeking through the blinds at the swelling crowd outside. I've been thinking about using my resources to start something new, he said suddenly. Not a charity exactly. Something that bridges science and faith. Something that addresses both material and spiritual needs. He turned to Joel, his voice steady. People think these worlds are opposed. But what if they're actually complementary? What if the next big breakthrough isn't technological, but spiritual? Joel studied him closely. This is quite different from your public persona, he said. That's part of the problem, Elon admitted. I've compartmentalized my life, kept these questions private. I was afraid they'd undermine my credibility. So what changed? Joel asked gently. Why now? Elon was quiet for a moment before answering. Last month, my private plane almost crashed. Severe turbulence. For 2 minutes, I was sure I was going to die. Joel's eyes widened. In those 2 minutes, I didn't think about my companies, my wealth, or my achievements. All I thought was, is this it? Is this all I've done? He shook his head. I realized I'd missed something essential. The sound of the growing crowd outside was getting louder, chants and competing voices filtering through the walls. I think it's time we address them, Joel said, standing. Together. Elon looked startled. That wasn't my plan. I'm not ready. Sometimes our greatest impact comes when we step outside our plans, Joel replied. What if your journey could help bridge the gap between science and faith, between belief and reason? Elon paced the room, anxiety rising. My reputation, my companies. If I start talking about dreams and God, do you have any idea how that would be received? Better than you might think, Joel said calmly. Millions are wrestling with the same questions. They just don't have your platform. Elon stopped pacing. What exactly would you have me say? Just be honest, share your questions, not your answers, that's enough. Joel's phone buzzed. His staff warned the situation was escalating fast. They needed to either address the crowd now or find a way for Elon to leave unseen. Elon peered out the window again. Reporters with cameras, protesters with signs, supporters with banners. It was a circus. Then his phone rang. His chief of staff sounded panicked. Have you seen the news? Rumors are flying everywhere. Some are saying you've had a breakdown. Others say you're launching a faith-based initiative. The stock is fluctuating wildly. We need a statement. Now. Ending. The call. Elon turned to Joel with resignation. It seems I don't have much choice. Joel put a comforting hand on his shoulder. Sometimes the moments we fear the most are the ones that matter most. Elon nodded slowly. All right, let's do this. But I need to be careful. When they finished, Elon felt a strange calm settle over him. The anxiety that had been building seemed to ease. Together, they made their way toward the main entrance. Security flanked them as the noise from the crowd swelled. Remember, Joel said quietly, you don't need all the answers. Just share your heart. The doors opened. Flashes erupted instantly. The roar of the crowd was deafening. Cheers, boos, shouted questions, all blending into a wall of noise. Joel raised his hand, and gradually the crowd quieted. Thank you for coming, he said. There's been much speculation about why Elon Musk is here. I've asked him to share that with you himself. Joel stepped aside, and Elon approached the microphone. For a man used to unveiling world-changing technology, he looked deeply human, vulnerable even. "I'm not here to make an announcement," he began, his voice steadying as he spoke. "I'm here because I've been asking myself some important questions about purpose, about meaning, about what truly matters." The crowd leaned in. "I've achieved more than I ever dreamed, but lately I've been wondering if there's something more, something beyond the next innovation or breakthrough." A reporter shouted, "Are you saying you're becoming religious?" Elon paused, choosing his words carefully. "I'm not saying I'm becoming religious," he said. "I'm saying I'm becoming more honest about questions I've always had." A hush fell over the crowd. "I still believe in innovation and technology, but lately I've faced questions that science alone can't answer. 3 months ago, I thought I was going to die, and in that moment, none of it, my companies, my success, mattered. Only one thing mattered. Had I lived a life of meaning?" The silence was profound. Even the protesters were listening now. "I'm not claiming to have found all the answers. I'm not making a dramatic announcement. I'm just acknowledging the search we all share." Another reporter called out, "Why Lakewood? Why Joel Osteen?" Elon glanced at Joel, then answered simply, "Because sometimes you have to step outside your comfort zone to find a new perspective."